So here I am working in Unity to build a small map for my testing of... So here I am working in Fusion 360 to create a small map that I can later use in Unity. So basically there's a few important things to note when you're building a map in Fusion 360, and the first is scale. And the scale that I've used is that 1mm in Fusion 360 is going to equal about 100mm in Unity, which basically means that every 1mm is 10 centimeters. And to give you a really good example, a standard door is about 800 wide, so 800mm wide. So therefore, I made this door here of this little building here 8mm wide when I drew it. You're going to have to create a map something like this. You're going to need to have a room that is separate from the outside world, and you're going to need to have a few different levels that you can step from or to in the game. You'll notice also that when I've done this, that all of my bodies are separated. So for example, each roof is a separate body, so that roof there and that roof item there, if I turn them off, you can see that each thing is a separate item, and turn them back on again. That's important. It's also important to note that they're all named. And that is also going to come through into Unity. So basically the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a staircase from this layer down here up to this layer down here. The way I'll do that is to use the line tool to basically draw a sketch onto here. So I'm going to zoom up onto this section here. I'm going to create a platform from this point here onto this point here, and it's going to be 1.5 meters wide. That's going to be 15 millimeters. Each step is going to go down 2 millimeters. So I'm going to type in 2 just to make sure it's right, and basically 3 millimeters out. So down 2, across 3, and just keep working my way down until I get that. Normal steps are usually about 24 or 25 centimeters wide. So you probably usually go, instead of 3, you go to 2.5, for example. But today, just to make it easier, I'm just going to go 3. Now drawing all those steps, I'm just going to quickly close off this line from going from here to here, and draw another line from here to here to close off that shape. I'm going to hit stop sketch. Let's rotate it around so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to press Q to pull this out. And I'm going to pull it out about, I'll make it 1.5 meters wide, and I'm going to make sure that I've gone with a new body, and I'm going to click on OK. And down here I'm going to relabel the body straight away so I know what it is. It's just going to be the stairs. Okay, once again I'm going to create a ramp going up from here to here. So once again, I'll just go with a sketch line here. And basically, I'm going to go from about the 1.5 meter mark. So I'm going to go from here out to 1.5 meters. I'm going to draw my line down here to also being about 1.5 meters from there. Just continue this one across. And join that all the way around. Press stop sketch. And now you're going to press Q to make my ramp be 1.5 meters wide, 15. And I could press or choose new body and press on OK. And once again, this one's going to be called ramp. Oops. Sorry, just pressed a few buttons wrongly on my computer, just went glitchy. There you go. Ramp. In order to get your house ready to use into Unity, you need to get it into OBJ format. And OBJ format is not available from the Unity app, but it is available from myhub.autodesk360.com. And you go that and you log in with your username, and you'll be able to see
all of your files. Mine's in a folder called Unity Assets, so I've actually gone in there. And as I hover over my simple house map, you'll see this arrow pointing down for a download, and I can scroll down until I find OBJ. Once I press that, it's going to give you this message saying it's going to send me a link via email, and that will be there within 5 minutes. So all you have to do is click on that link in the email and download it, and it will appear in your downloads. When we open Unity, we'll get a splash screen like this, which basically allows us to create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project here. I'm going to call mine my second house once I click on the link, because I've already created one called my first house. So I'm going to call it my second house. You need to give yours a reasonable name, and all you need to do from this point is to click create project. It'll go through some loading stuff, and then it will open up. So here we are now, we're in Unity, and we're basically going to start by importing the house and scene that we built in Fusion 360. So I'm going to go import new asset. Straight away, I'm going to go to my downloads and find my house that I've done. There you go, I can see that it's all there. If it's not all there as you've saved it, it means that you've downloaded it too early. It takes some time sometimes for it to sync. So let's just click on import now that we've got that. And in it comes, and there it comes in there. It sits in here. It's also got its own materials file. All the materials in there will be white, which is sort of unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. So now that I've got my simple house there, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click on the inspector here, and I'm going to ensure that generate colliders is checked. That's really important to make sure that's happened. I'm then going to drag it onto the screen like so, and I'm going to click on apply. That's also really important. That means that it will actually interact as a physical object. If you don't do those two steps of generating the colliders and applying those colliders, then it won't work. The next thing I'm going to do is scale it down, and I've played around with the scale a lot, and I can tell you now that because we used a 1 to 100 scale in Unity, I can scale it down to 14% of its actual size, and it will work perfectly well. 0.14. So this is basically going to be my size now, and if I zoom out now by using my mouse button, you can see that I'm looking at my house in Unity. It's on the hill. I can see my staircase here. So all I need to do now, in order to get this really going, I'm just going to press Command S to save it right now. It's going to ask me to save a scene. I'm just going to call it Scene 1 and hit save. Okay, so now I've got Scene 1 in here, which means that it's saved and ready to go. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press onto Assets, and incidentally, I saved it because sometimes when you go and import assets, you get file corruption. So you want to make sure you save things regularly. And I'm going to choose characters. And once I've chosen characters, I'm going to import all of those things. And in they come. And now that they're imported, or once they're imported, I should be able to use the first person character in order to just navigate my way around the screen. Once it's all imported, you should have this extra folder down here called Standard Assets, and if you open up that, you can see that there's a characters folder, and then there's a first person character, and then there's this section called prefabs. Once you grab your prefab, you go to the first person controller and drag them roughly onto the screen where you want to be. And I'm just going to raise that up a little bit. You can see if you zoom in on that, that there's a little shape there. And now I'm basically ready to test and make sure that this is working. So I'm going to press play here. And now I'm on my scene. So that was that simple to get my map into place. And my staircase works. And my ramp should work. And if you're listening to the sounds, you'll notice that the sounds sound a bit strange because it's louder at certain points than others. And that's simply because that's where the microphone is. So if I basically press escape at the moment, and I should get my mouse button here. So once I press escape, I can press stop, and that will bring me back. So if I scroll out here, I should see that there's an extra thing on here. So if I go to main camera, that's the camera view for the main camera. If I delete that now, I can just go with the first person controller, and that should make the sounds sound correct all of the time. So the main camera has a microphone on it for listening, and that main camera basically stops me from having or only makes the sound coming from where the main camera is. Okay, so you can see that if I press escape now, go back up here, that it works quite well, and I've got a nice looking map there that I can actually now play around with the textures on, and that's all we'll be doing for our initial prac. The final thing we're going to do in this activity is just to import some basic textures, and I can do this by in Unity going back to assets and going import new asset. And I have a folder in my documents called textures, and there's heaps of different textures in there. So I'm just going to download all of them. So import all of them. Normally you wouldn't do this. Normally you'd only import the ones that you absolutely want. But let's just import them anyway. So now that I've got them selected, I'm going to import them. And in they come. And they're going to basically sit in this folder that we've come into. So here they all are, and they're all in just a straight assets folder. So basically, in order to apply these particular things, the first thing I'm going to basically apply will be, let me think now, just going to apply a cracked concrete to the whole house. So I'm going to select the house here so that it's all orange and ready to go, and I'm just going to drag that one down, and you can see that it's got a bit of what we call a tiling effect happen, and we can fix that later, but basically you should try and get seamless sort of things happening. So I'm going to use this checker plate here on the stairs. The checker plate makes sense on the stairs and it works very well. I'm going to just rotate around now, use the hand tool while I'm actually operating this and look at some different aspects. So here we go. Basically I've got the ramp there. Once again I'm going to make that checker plate. So I can click on here and I can see all the different sections here. I have a roof on there, so I have this roof there and this roof here. Let's just apply it to the roof. We're just going to make it the crate. That doesn't look too bad. The other roof. And I've dragged it onto the wrong thing. Okay, so let's just, there you go. I'm going to drag the crate onto the roof. I'm going to create mine out of stone, so it's going to be a stone house. Not the best looking textures. I should probably spend a bit more time choosing different textures here. The ridge capping there on. Now one of the things I'm going to find is I can't really see inside the house. So what I can do is I can select this roof panel here and I can just uncheck it here. I can now see all the rafters inside the house, so I'm going to make them dark wood. Oops, I really want the walls to be stone, so change that back to stone. Okay, make that dark wood. And you can see now, as I go through, I can apply these textures. Now I can see that the roof is grayed out here, so I'm going to ungray that and uncheck that box. Now if I press play, I should be able to see and go through and check all of my textures to see that they look okay. As you can see, the concrete look isn't great, so I probably need to re-choose a texture. You can see that I missed that wall there. If I go into the house, that looks pretty cool with the roof beams up there. So you can see there that I've got that happening. One thing I've noticed there is I've got a window. So in order to facilitate that glass effect, I've gone onto the asset store. I've done a search for glass material, and I've come up with this prototype material pack, which is free. And on the asset store, you can download all sorts of things to include in your game. And basically, it's now sitting in here in the prototype material. So let's go back into my scene now. Select my house, and I should be able to zoom up onto that window there. There it is there. And let's just see if I can actually find a prototype material in here of glass to assign that to it. So let's actually see how that's going. So now if I press play in here, I should be able to find that again. Just run upstairs. I keep getting caught just on there. There must be some sort of pixel in the way. Oh, nearly fell off. Oh, I applied that glass to that whole wall. So you can see that there's a glassish effect. Not the best glass in the world, but still a bit good for a window. I don't know why I applied it to that and not that, but it does work. So let's actually just get that back there. And if I turn all of my other things off except for that glass, so basically that wall there, let's just turn that wall off and find this other front wall that I'm on and turn that off as well, and turn the window back on. The window is currently as a standard material. I can't even see it. Oh, there it is there. It's over in that one. No wonder. Right, I applied it to the wrong one. There we go. So there's the window there. So I should be able to apply that glass to the window. And now I should be able to turn this wall back on. And maybe I should just apply bricks to that wall. Okay, and turn this wall back on as well. So now if I press play, running along through here, up here, around the corner, there's my brick, and there's my glass window, which is great. So basically, all you need to do in order to get this going is to play around with the textures, see how it's going to work. Don't like those bricks very much. They're sort of sidewards and very glossy. And they sort of don't really suit what I'm trying to achieve, but we can play around with those. Watch some videos on YouTube on how to do proper texturing. In order to get the best marks, you need to show that you've learnt more than I have showed you here.